Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm, and today we are carrying on our MMO framework series. And if you guys remember, what we did here on the last episode is that we created the delete modal here. Now what I would like to achieve today is I want to add the edit function. So when you press edit, it takes the player to the edit place. Right, so let's just close the modal confirm. Let's close out the character list. Now we need to handle when we press edit, right? Now we do have the same, events here. We do have the delete widget reference. We have the save game object reference. We have a bunch of stuff here. Now, what I want to do here is that we need to understand what we need to do here to load, to make sure that we are loading that data into, let's say, the game instance, right? And basically, what we can do on the game instance here is that, or we could leave it to do here, or we can open up right there. Here's gonna be the best place to do this, right? So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna basically use the same logic that I'm gonna use here also from when I start to play the character, right? And that logic is going to be basically get that player information and transfer to the other scene. So which means is that we're going to load our save game data in memory so we can safely transfer to another scene, get the information there, and then edit, do whatever we want, and then we can come back safely to the other one. So to do that stuff here, all we're going to need it realistically, I'm just thinking if there's anything else we could add. There is one thing that we need here, which is basically we need to know our index, right? So let me just refactor a quick code here. On the WBP character list widget, which is I already have open here by chance, I am gonna create a new variable. And I'm gonna call this slot index. All right, this is going to be integer. Make sure that's public, and we're gonna also make sure that expose on spawn is public. Now I'm gonna refresh, and I'm gonna get the index here. Just gonna edit that here, and I'm gonna put it right there. Nice. Great. Now I'm going to compile and save this stuff. And what I'm going to do here is that when I press play, I want to make sure, when I press edit, I want to make sure that I have the index coming back to me, which means that here on the event, I need to go back to our action list. I need to add here another thing called slot index. And I'm going to open up the index. And I'm just gonna pass the index on all of those, right? And I know this sounds like we are basically passing a bunch of redundant data, but it's just easy to work this way. Otherwise, we'll have to do some different selections and find the data from elsewhere. Nice. Now we have the slot select index and all that stuff. All we can do here is that if you guys remember, we have this MMO framework instance, right? What I want to do here is that I want to go back to my save game, and I want to open up my game instance. And in here, what I would like to do here is that I want to be able to pass my save game object to my instance so I can get this anywhere I want. So if I load the main level, if you, let's say you're trying to transition from the login screen to the main, world where you're gonna play with your friends or whatever. Let's try to basically load everything into memory to your client, and then we transition to that level. All right. So we're gonna create here a new variable, and this is gonna be called the player save object. Nice. We're gonna make sure that's public, and we're gonna call this BP MMO MMO framework instance. That is the one where, let me just double check if that's the right one. Get player save object. Get player save on. No, that's the instance. Now we need to load. If we go back to game, save objects. There you go. Main player, this one. That's the type that we need to create. All right. All right, don't worry. I don't know why it does that sometimes, but it's fine. We don't need that. All right, now we can get this, and we can get, we can get the player appearance, and then you can get the gender, the everything that we need to load the data. Now, in here, we don't really need to do anything, so that's fine. But now, the place where we're gonna need to do, it's here, right? We need the instance to do stuff with it. So here's where things get a little bit complicated. We're gonna start to use this game instance in multiple places. So what I would like to do here is that I want to basically define this instance maybe when we press play, so we don't have to be worrying about casting this all the time, because otherwise it gets messy and then it's just ugly code, right? So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna copy this code here. I'm going to delete it from here, and on our event construct I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to do this as the very first thing. I'm going to set this as a variable called game instance, and now I'm going to plug it, this one right here. That's fine, we got a game instance. Now on here where we took it out, oh, sorry, I just wanted to copy and paste, but yeah. Now I'm gonna basically plug this one here and that one there, and that's everything you gotta do here. Don't need to do anything else. That's all we gotta do for this part. Now I'm gonna copy this because I already have and now on the edit part, so this is the, let me just comment this out and say this is the delete logic. And now when we try to edit, first of all, we are gonna get our game instance. We're gonna basically say, okay, we have a valid slot, which is this one right there that we are passing. And now we also have set our player save object, because we basically are telling this game instance that, okay, game instance, I already have a valid save player, so let's do that. All right, now you're probably asking, okay, now we need to load we need to load where we edit the player, right? And to do that, that's very simple, that's not super complex. What we need to do here is that I'm just gonna copy this level, right? And I am gonna just paste it here, right? We are gonna open up the same level here. And the only difference now is that when we press edit, we need to load all the right values. We need to make sure that we have all the right selections and all the right things here. Maybe what we could do here is that we could cheat a little bit, right? Instead of because it's gonna be a very tedious logic to do, loading the right color, right hair, like gender, for example. Maybe the gender would make sense, but everything else, like the gender and the name, we need to make sure we load. Everything else, the player can click through and do whatever. And also we need to update the player appearance, which is gonna be actually the first thing I would like to do here when we load the data. Right, so to do that, we need to identify if this is a loading or what we're trying to do here, right? Are we trying to load a new game instance? Are we trying to do what we're trying to do here? And for that, I already see a problem in our logic. But what I'm going to do here, just a quick update on if we are creating a brand new character, we're going to just set the save player object to non-existing, and then I'm gonna load the data. Because what happens is that as you travel from this scene to this scene, and then you come back to the first scene, and then you press new, you're gonna have a problem. If you don't clean that variable, you're gonna have old things on your memory that you don't want to care about, right? But anyway, now what we need to implement here, it's something very simple. So this part here is already done. I'm just gonna comment it out and say edit logic, right? And now if I close all this stuff, I need to go now back to our main blueprints, game mode. We're gonna go back to our character creation and widget. Let's open up here our character creation widget here, right? So if I go back to our user graph, we do have things, if we go to the main event, right? We have the instance that we are trying to set up. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna copy this instance. I'm gonna delete it from here. I'm gonna delete all this event tick and all that stuff. I don't need it right here. I'm gonna paste it here, all right? And what I'm gonna do here is that once I have my game instance, I'm gonna try to get the player save object. And I'm gonna make sure that is this a valid object? It's valid. And this is gonna be a branch, right? If this thing is not valid, we carry on as usual. We don't care what happened because it's just not valid. There's nothing you can do about it. But if it's valid, what happening is that means that we can edit our character, right? So if I press play, press edit, we can edit. But if I press play here and I press create new character, nothing happened because we already set that value to empty. Remember that we did that on the previous widget. We set up the value to empty. Now, what we're gonna do here is that we're just gonna close this value here for now. Bring it right there. And what we need to do here is that once the value, if it's valid, first of all, we need to load our player appearances and all sorts, and we need to do that quite quickly. Right, so what I'm gonna do here is that we are gonna be using the player object a lot, right? We do not have, so we have the game instance. I'm gonna promote this to a variable called player save object, that's fine. And I'm gonna put in the components. And if this is valid, right, what we're gonna do here is that we are gonna call those, this element here, which is where we set the title, where we set the color, where we set the appearances, and where we set all that stuff. Actually, we have a save game. There we go. That's we already have a main player controller. So what we can do, we can completely delete this save player object, right? Don't need it anymore. And I'm gonna put this one right here, and we can just plug this object here because they're the same. They don't need to change. Right, now the thing that I want to do here is that I just want to go back to my nodes, to the gender selection. I'm gonna copy this, right? Go back here. I'm gonna paste it. And this is where things get very tricky because you have to do this on loading and it gets very small. But anyway, we can always collapse this to a node after. Now here I can get the player appearance and I can break this thing down and I can put the gender right here. Nice. Compile and save. And look how cool is this now, guys. So when I press edit, this is before it was a male character, right? So I'm just gonna delete this. I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna create a brand new character. It's gonna be called test, save, and then it's gonna, when I press edit, it should load the character female model, right? So just to explain what happened here, if I press play here, I create a new character, and by default is a male one. But if I press play here again, edit, I now have a female character. And what's happening now is that is identifying we have a saving loading, and now we just need to change the hair, the color, and all that stuff they already saved, right? Now, what happened here is that we have this stuff edit, right? So we are loading the hair, we're loading the color. Now the next thing we're gonna do here is that we need to call the API set or change the color, right? Put the color right here. And let's just do the hair first, just because it's in order. API change the hair. Here, and we're gonna put it right there. So we're gonna put the hair, we're gonna put the color, and that's everything that we need to do. Great. We're gonna compile and save. And now, guys, look at this. We have our character selected here. I'm not sure if that's the right hair, though. Well, let's try to delete this. And let's go back and do that. And let's just put male and hair number 2, test, save. Now if I go press new, that's fine. Now if I press load, yeah. So for some reason, it's not loading up the hair. I'm not entirely sure why it's not bringing the right hair. Maybe, let's have a look if we are saving the hair here. Let's have a look. Aha, we found the problem, guys. The problem is that we haven't connected this here. Let's just connect it. And now what happened is that I'm just gonna delete this character. New, I'm gonna press the hair male, and it's gonna be the metallic hair, metal, save. And I go back and I press edit, I should have the metal hair. And look at that, guys, we have done our editing loadings part of it. It's working properly. Now what we need to do here is that we need to basically check if we just need to allow to edit this and save, which if you go back here, it's not going to be hard to do, because what happened now is that after in the main menu here, we done this stuff, we can carry on as usual because we just loading the data. There's only one more thing to load, which is this field here. So I'm just gonna get the text input box, and I'm gonna get the I think it's called input field, right? And I am gonna set the text, plug it right there, and I have the name. Now if I compile and save here, and I'm gonna press edit, I should have metal. Nice, so that's written right there. Now the next thing I need to do is just plug this one right here, right? And if I am not mistaken, we should be able to press edit, metal dash male. We change the gender, press save, and then it goes back. It did not change our character information at all. Well, let's check why it's not doing that. Because if I do here male, let's try to have a look why this is not working. So what is happening here is that let's just do step by step here. So I'm going to press here F5. Oh, F9. And when I edit, it's going to go up, that. It's going to go here, and it's going to carry on doing his own things, right? And then it keeps carrying on the loop. And then it keeps carrying on in the loop, going. Nice. Now it goes back here, goes back there, blah, blah. So everything looks like it's working properly. But when we are saving, there's something that's gone wrong here on our character. Right, so let's try maybe to see if we did anything that it's a little bit stupid in a way. Like, let's see if we did anything that we're missing up. So I can see this is loading properly. At least the data is coming right. So we are getting the data properly. Just delete this F and press play. So we're getting the data right. We're getting the name properly. But when we're pressing save, let's say new, it's not changing anything. It's not doing nothing here. Right, I think it's because when we press save here, let's have a look. So we got the length, we go here greater than 0, and we get the game instance save slot, right? So what we can maybe do here, print, is that I want to basically check the slot that we're trying to save here. And if I press play, if I go back to edit, press dash new save, is setting up the framework as 0. Right, that is a problem because our save slot number shouldn't be 0. And I know why. The problem is because when we are loading up here, we are passing, guys, the wrong slot. We need to pass the right slot here. Remember, it comes back here. That's all we did wrong. Now, we don't even need to worry about testing this because this is gonna work just as fine because we just forgot to pass the right slot there. So if I do new, change this to a male, save, I should have new dash, and I press edit, I have the male character here. Right. The only thing here that we can try to improve is maybe to change the male. The rest, probably we shouldn't care that much. But let's see if we can do that in a simple way. So now on the main menu, on here, when we are loading the data, we have these for each loops that we're trying to do, right? So what I can do here is, I'm just going to give some space to work, is that at least for the gender, right? I want to get our gender input field, and I'm going to go back here. I'm going to get this, and I'm going to call the API set title, right? And for the title, I'm going to put the gender to string. And now I'm just going to put this value right here. Right that. Nice. This is going to go here. We're going to press compile and save. And now we are going to have this edit button there. And I'm going to do, you see, say male. So if I change that to female, it goes back, press edit, and then, oh, it's not changing that to female. Let's check why this is not working. So if I press, it's not the title. We should set API set the, actually that is right. Go back, press play. There is one problem here, I think, that we did wrong. Let me just have a look. On the gender selection, we are saving that. Great. On the hair, we are also saving that, which is also, it's great. And on the node here, we are also saving that, which is also, it's great. So let me try to print this and see what's going on when we press load here. So we got female, but that's not loading properly. I see why that's not loading properly. Now I see. It's because when we are setting the values here for the gender, we are getting, the gender option, we're getting the right value and doing all sorts. So maybe it will be easy for us to do like this. So what we can do here is that we can get the, how can we do that in a better way? Anyway, we can get this. We can do a select, right? and we can put and we can just get the player appearance, and we can break that, and we can get agenda, right, to string. And here I am just gonna open up and give some space, so it's easy for us to work. Now what I'm gonna do here is that I'm gonna create I need to basically check if this is valid, right? So we need to basically check if we have a valid save game from the slot that we try to load. So we're gonna get the game instance, and we're gonna get the save save game object, and we're gonna look for is valid. Now what we need to do is that we're gonna plug this one here, and right, if this is valid, we plug this one here, otherwise we plug this one right there. Let's see what's gonna happen when we press that. Female, great. If I press new, should say male. Great. So that's really good, guys, because now we managed to create this thing on our player that allows us to load this data dynamically. But once again, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I see you in the next lesson.